Yo, what's up, Foolys? It's your boy O3. Welcome back to the Othree Exhibit. This is exhibit number 30. This is the story of Dastamon. He's going to be talking about growing up in Michigan, how we met at Ohio Wesleyan University, his company Elite, and more. Post up and enjoy. I'm here with a special guest. I'm going to pass the mic over for the introduction.
What's up, everybody? This is Dastamon, aka Bill E, Bill George, whatever you like. Got a lot of action, but Dastamon for now.
Yeah, for the people that are listening, for your family, friends, and your followers, I think you got like multiple names, but I would refer to you as Dastamon just because we do have a music relationship mostly, right? I mean, but Billy, Dastamon, interchangeable, correct?
Yeah, I mean, just different release, genres. Bill E, obviously more techno, more electro. Dastamon, more moombahton. Still a lot of electro in there, but yeah, just focusing on the character and the design too.
Well, here my boy's about to tell his story. We're gonna start from the very beginning. Before we start, though, have you ever done this? Have you ever been interviewed?
Not just me. No, I did a little interview with the crew with the lead on another podcast back in the day, but not solo.
All right, for sure. So this is the story of Dastamon, the story of Billy George. It's all one and the same. But I got a big belief that our story starts before we're even born, you know? And so my question to you is, where's your family from? Where do your roots begin? Let's talk about that.
Sure. So my family's been in the country for the last 100 years or so, a little bit more maybe, but about that. Family on my dad's side's from Lebanon, so they came over here just after the turn of the century. Couple farms, a couple different businesses in Pennsylvania, North Dakota, and so from there it was just when stuff started to bite the dust in the Great Depression, everyone relocated to Detroit, and that's been really home base since. So that's been that side of the family. Other side was farmers too, in Michigan, mixed in with some legal experts, whole nine yards with the auto industry, up in Flint. So, Flint, Detroit, saw both those cities, growing up and just, hung around too after. So I'm in, just outside of Detroit right now.
You ever been to Lebanon?
No, I was about to go for a wedding a couple years back, and then I had the DJ a wedding back here in Detroit, so I missed it.
Oh,
And man, yeah, right now it's a little rough over there. I had a friend who's going over to visit his family right now this week, but yeah, it looks I have to wait a couple years.
so you still have relatives over there?
Yeah, I mean, I got family that's like distant relatives, but that was a friend's wedding. I got a bunch of buddies who are Lebanese too.
That's dope. See, I love doing this because mate, you might have told me when we met, or you might have not told me, just because obviously at that point it was just LA and Detroit, South Central. You
Right.
know, for me, obviously, just because I'm first gen, it was easy for me to be like, "Oh yeah, I'm fucking Mexican American," right? But
Right.
we never really got too deep into the history of our families, our ancestors. But I love doing this podcast because I get to learn more about the people that I know and the people that I find interesting. What do you identify as, though? That's my question.
I mean, I'm American. I mean, I've been here for a minute, right? Obviously white, but it appreciate the culture, right? You remember where you're from, you remember what the family did. And so, just watching those generations pass on to the next and just learning the lessons over and over. But I'll tell you what, I'm gonna claim Mediterranean food all day.
You ever do that ancestry.com shit, the 24 and
Nah,
me, whatever that's called? Nah, you never
nah,
done
nah,
that?
nah, nah, nah. Some people did it in the family, so we got some of the sense of it, but we stayed away from that on my side.
Yeah, that's cool. That'd be cool to hear about your experience going to Lebanon, even if it's
Yeah,
like a quick trip.
right. Got to
Maybe
go at some
vlog it or
point.
something. Yeah, that'd be dope. I've
Yeah, there was this one girl I was talking to, and she was showing me there's a spot you can ski, and like you're
Oh, you
you're
love
on
that
the
shit.
mountain, and yeah, it's sweet, and you're looking at the beach, like you're like up there on the mountain, so it's like, both climates. But anyways, yeah, I'll get over there at some point. Hopefully, this war gets over soon.
You know, when I used to go to Mexico as a kid, it was beautiful to see where my family, like my parents are from, because they grew up on the same block in
Okay.
Mexico, right? So it was easy
Yeah.
to go, and a lot of our families, like my brothers, I mean my dad's brothers and my mom's siblings, they all live kind of close by. So it was easy
Hmm.
to move around because it was in one little small part of the city, and it's beautiful to go back to see the relatives and everything. And I think it's a beautiful thing to it's a privilege. It's a beautiful thing to see and experience. So
Yeah.
if you get to see and go and visit Lebanon, I would love to hear about it. Maybe we'll get you back on a podcast episode
For sure.
for the details and everything. But you grew up Detroit area. What was your childhood like? You remember anything before going to elementary school?
Mm, before elementary school, I don't know. I guess a little bit maybe, but not much. I mean, it was like playing baseball and golf in the backyard and just messing around. We'd go on a couple family trips hiking maybe before that, but not much up until you get into early elementary.
Where'd you go to elementary school at? Like the name, where
Star
area?
School is down. It's torn down now.
Star
Uh,
School?
Star School, and it was named after farmers. So that was like it's STA double R. There you go. The double R has been in it since day one. You know
Let's
that?
go, baby.
Yeah,
Let's
exactly.
go. Where's that at?
So
What part of Detroit is that in?
that's Royal Oak. So I grew up in Royal Oak, up in the suburbs, up at like 13 Mile. And then so you just, that was in the early 2000s, right? When I was going to elementary school. And it wasn't popping. People were moving out for bigger houses, especially up through '08. Like there was still a housing boom. Everyone wanted more space, so everyone was moving out of our area, moving further north, trying to get more square footage. And that kind of reversed, right? '08 hit pretty hard, and then it flipped. But for a little while, you saw like our schools getting closed and stuff, people moving out. But then it completely flipped, obviously, as people were trying to come back to the city, next decade. So. Anyways, it's been a good spot to grow up for sure. A lot of good stuff, a lot of good parks, so it's great.
What kind of stuff were you into? Like music, TV shows, hobbies?
Yeah. Oh man, we watch cartoons for sure, like Rocket Power, obviously.
Oh,
I mean, we had some good ones in there, but I mean, we would build forts and stuff. People down the street had two lots, so they'd double lot. We'd play Ghost in the Graveyard, Capture the Flag, all that. We trash pick, build forts in the backyard. We had woods behind our house. That was pretty sweet. We got to go explore those, climb trees and stuff. So that was sweet, right? Played little league, played hockey growing up, so I got to get exercise and play some sports too. Play basketball and football with friends, pick up too, but just go out and play, right? You get in trouble in the summer if you're inside too much. Get your butt outside and go do something.
before the technology boom of the cell phones and tablets and home computers really took charge, right? What are they called? Um, there's a word for it, but I don't really remember it out here. We just call them street kids out here in LA. I don't know what they would you
Street
would
kids,
consider
yeah.
yourself. You consider yourself street kids, the kids outside.
Yeah, I don't like my dad always used to talk about how like when he was a kid they would just go play baseball every day. Like he would come on back and be like, "Why aren't you going to play baseball with random guys?" And he'd be like, "Well, no one's having a game." And it was like so maybe it's like the Sandlot, right? Like my grandpa talks about that same thing in Detroit growing up, just everyone going on the Sandlot, play baseball. So I'm guessing that's probably what it was, right? We get more TV, more organized sports. My dad would always talk about be like, "You guys are playing too many organized things. You need a referee. Like just go play with your friends."
Mm. Were you into wrestling and shit or nah?
Nah, I remember one time we had Joe Lewis. They hosted SmackDown, and I helped my neighbor that I was talking about with built the forts with. Like he went with his buddies, and we made signs and everything. But so I watched it probably a couple times with him.
You know I had to ask you. That's my shit right there, dog.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I think probably watch more wrestling with you at Fight Out.
yeah, it was a fun experience doing that with other people, especially with people that didn't grow up watching wrestling. So
Yeah,
it's a question I ask. I started
yeah,
asking all my guests just because
yeah,
it is a big part of the culture, a big part of mainstream culture. Maybe before back in the day, before we were even born, it was a lot more niche, a lot more was it taboo to speak on wrestling. Nowadays
yeah,
it's part of the culture. You hear it about it everywhere. Mainstream for John Cena was on the Kai Cenat
yeah,
stream the other day, so it's a
yeah. I
part
mean,
of
look
it.
at The Rock, right? Like,
Yeah,
come on.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. The
yeah,
Rock.
yeah,
Oh
exactly.
shit. What kind of music were you into in the early
Ooh,
2000s?
okay.
Because I mean Eminem, for come on, dog.
Yeah, are you kidding me? All right, so here's what I have. It was like my dad got me into classical right off the rip, right? He's like, okay, you gotta listen to Beethoven, here's a CD, all that stuff. So he's getting me into Mozart and all that. And I go to school and they're like, what are you listening to? I was like, well, Beethoven and Mozart. And they were like, okay, well, how about this this Eminem? So yeah, I don't know, it must have been like first grade, right? Like it might, right away, Eminem. And now your parents were like, nope. And it's exactly like in his songs. They were like, nope. And you're like, what's going on with this? So that was always the thing in elementary school. You're trying to listen to Eminem. You stay up late under the covers with like your little CD player with the cassette mixer in there, listening to the radio just on real low volume, and you just be waiting for songs to come on so you can just record them real quick. Because you weren't getting the Eminem album, but like you made the mixtape and you had all the songs.
You ever heard of Jay Dilla growing up when you were a little kid?
I don't think growing up I really know who Jay Dilla was. To be honest, like maybe I heard stuff by Jay Dilla, but like I don't think like if you think about how deep I got into hip hop, I don't think it was deep, right? It was Eminem, and I think I got into some other rap through that, but that kind of got shut down by my parents a little bit, and so that a lot of I was into rock, and I would say probably, and I think I probably when I met you, I was mostly into techno. And that happened through high school, meeting all the Germans from international school and all that. But hip hop was really, meeting you and going deep with it and really understanding and learning. So I don't think until I started digging in on, some of the older school stuff with you that I really knew who Jay Dilla was.
Yeah, it's kind of hard when you're a little kid to listen and go deep into the music because you kind of have to get used to the shit that your parents are listening to. Like I grew up, yeah, we got into music and like hip hop and rap because my older brother, my cousins, but they were older than me.
Yeah,
It's not like my parents were playing fucking Tupac and Biggie in the house. It was all Spanish music.
right.
So I mean, it probably was easier for you to listen to Eminem just because of Detroit and the marketing and the the culture and everything. But Jay
Yeah, you
Dilla,
just had to at that point.
I just asked out of curiosity to see if anybody from Michigan or from Detroit ever listened to Jay Dilla when they were a little kid. Probably
Yeah,
listen to artists that were influenced by him.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think I was totally in the different genres though. Right. I didn't get that deep in hip hop yet. So I mean it's just been nice to go back and it's crazy how many people still don't know him. If you'd ask that question like, do you know who he is today? I wonder what the percent would be.
Were you into making music when you were a little kid? Was that something that you were like
Ooh.
instruments and all that?
Yeah, we had piano lessons, so like you'd be, I don't know, it was first grade we started that. So we were doing that. And then I think fifth grade we were doing drums. So like music was there. You were getting taught in school basically, right? Or class. And then just to go mess around, right? We had a keyboard up in the attic with like the electronic stuff, so you'd put drum loops on. You'd be changing with, the different flange and everything and messing around with the audio. So, yeah, I was always up in the attic, like trying to make loops and stuff and mess around.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure I got like old flip video recordings of like me messing around on the keyboard trying to record stuff. Um, and then, yeah, I think it really was like high school once I start getting into software, and just messing around from there with, a lot of the electronic stuff.
Last question about elementary school, just because I worked in an after school program setting for a long time. Were you involved in any after school program, like youth centers, what do they call extracurricular activity, shit like
I
that?
think it was like latchkey at our school. You stay after school. Yeah,
That was it.
I think that's what they called it. Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think my mom at that point was out of, she was a teacher, so she, took a few years off when we were in elementary school, and so we'd come right at home after school pretty much. Um, Shoot, we had preschool, we had like stuff during the summer. She'd have like worksheets for us and stuff. We'd be doing grammar all summer.
Oh, shout out to moms, dog. Shout out to
I know,
moms for doing
I
that.
know.
That's
It's
cool.
just keeping us right. Yeah.
That's dope though. That is as funny and as fucking cringe as it sounds to say when you're an adult. That should probably help you out so much.
Oh yeah, it was like easily the best topic on my like exams and stuff for like standardized testing, and I didn't enjoy it, but you know what I mean. I definitely learned it.
Man, I think I have a similar experience with that. Then you get to middle school, right?
Hmm.
What middle school did you go to?
Well, to two different ones, it was Jane Addams, and then they closed it. Like I was talking about when everyone moved out, and like I guess that would have been '08. Like they probably closed the school in '08. And then like Royal Oak Middle School, which was just like the old high school. So um, yeah, it was a little bit different for eighth grade. They mixed two middle schools together, so that was interesting. But same thing, baseball, hockey still. In middle school, everyone gets a little bit crazy trying to figure out who they are a little bit.
So I'm guessing this is where your interest in sports started to take off a little bit more. Now you're involved with what are the amateurs? I don't know what the fuck. I never play sports, so I don't even know what
Yeah,
the
like,
word for it is.
you had like middle school baseball team and stuff. I guess, yeah, it's a little more serious at that level. You're trying to make the team and everything. So the first time you have tryouts, really, because I didn't play travel as a kid, right? So like this is your first time you're trying out for the team and stuff. So that's a big deal.
Were you good as a kid in middle school? Be honest.
I was smaller, so I think, for being small, I think I had good hand-eye coordination and I could throw and I could hit, but I couldn't necessarily hit for power as much. Same thing in hockey. I was a little smaller. So it was like really once I hit high school and I hit the growth spurt where I took a step forward and it was just like from going from getting pushed around, going to changing to bullying people and getting penalty minutes. So it's a little bit of a flip there once I hit the growth spurt.
So I'm guessing hockey and baseball were the two sports that kind of dominated your athletic history, if you want to call it like that.
For sure. I mean, it was like a little bit of golf here and like with family and stuff growing up, but it was like, I never played in any real tournaments, just some junior golf here and there. But yeah, baseball, hockey for a lot of years.
The Red Wings, right? That's the name of the hockey team. See, I know
Oh
my
yeah,
shit,
and yeah,
dog.
we
I
were
remember.
spoiled. Because it was like first 25 years of my life in a row they were winning, So it was crazy that when they finally started going through the last, 5 or 10 years, it's been crazy.
Yeah, I remember like in the 2000s, motherfuckers were always winning and shit. I was
Hmm.
like, what the fuck? Like, is anybody good or what? Like, these fools are
They
just.
needed a salary cap. It was like the Yankees of hockey, basically. They were like, all right, cool, we'll just keep stacking the team.
Well, how many times did they win when you were in middle school?
Middle school, that would have been like they won once, right? Because they won in '02 and then they won in '08. So they went, but they had two game sevens in a row against Pittsburgh. So they won game seven against the Penguins in '08 and they lost game seven against the Penguins in '09. So they could have gone back to back, but they didn't. And they were always there. So it was like they only really got two cups in that stretch. And so I mean, I guess it was three. They had two early on. So, you know, they were really just dominant for how many cups they had. They really could have had a couple more.
Honestly, I thought it was way more just because you hear about them all the time. The
Yeah, they
Detroit
were
Red
just
Wings, the Red Wings is, the Red Wings that. Yeah,
well, they're the best American team, and so they have the only people that have more cups than them are Toronto and Montreal. So
yeah, you
Canada
would know
hasn't
more
won a
than
cup. Go
you,
ahead.
you know more than me, dog. I don't fucking know
Uh,
shit about hockey, fool. You know, like
Not
I
many
don't.
people do, man. It's the lower paying league.
Wait, so Canada has zero NHL team, like what is it called, Stanley
Well,
Cups?
they just haven't won in a minute. I don't think in our lifetime. I really don't think there's been even though they like those two teams are the all time most cups. I'm pretty sure they haven't won a cup in our life.
They're slacking ass fools, huh?
I know.
Slacking. What
USA.
what kind of music were you into in middle school? You
Middle
getting
school,
it?
that's where it was that rock, right? It was the
Oh yeah,
rap,
okay,
right?
okay,
And then it
yeah.
was like I think, I started listening to some more like Akon. I think we sat down and had to listen to the lyrics of Akon because, listen to how inappropriate they were. So I had to go do that because I was playing it too loud in the house and around my sisters. And I think from there I transitioned a little more to the rock. Franz Ferdinand, I got really into in
Oh,
middle
okay,
school.
okay.
Coldplay, obviously, but like the Killers, the Strokes. So a lot of rock there. And then yeah, in high school it was a flip to electronic, but I think that's Franz Ferdinand. If I had to go, some Scottish boys out there. I don't know if you're familiar, but Take Me Out. You know Take Me Out, right? Franz
I
Ferdinand.
I don't know the songs, but I know the band Franz
Yeah, yeah,
Ferdinand.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah. You know that song.
So this is what year was this? Like 2004, 5, 6, 2005?
What would have been like 6, 7, 8? I would have
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
graduated.
This was like Eminem's when he started disappearing, right? This was like towards the end of his first
Hmm.
run.
Yeah, because then I think he had some of that Rihanna stuff when we were in high school.
Yeah, so it was cool it was cool and weird to see Eminem's evolution when we're kids, because he goes from like the Slim
Yeah,
Shady, and then he kind of
yeah.
just like something happens. I don't forgot about his history too much, but things
I think he
start getting a
got
little
clean.
rocky. Yeah, yeah,
Well,
right. Like it was something like
honestly, I
that.
think that's part of his music shift is like, I don't know. That's what I remember the most about high school, at least, is like once he shifted and really got off some of the drugs. And it was just kind of a different style. Like it was more musical almost. He was singing more. I mean, he was always singing, but it was like, I don't know, less jokey and more, he like focused on the lyricism a little bit, like almost to an extreme.
Just sounded a little bit more serious.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, versus like carefree off the cuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Sounded a lot more written. You know what I mean?
Were you making any kind of were you any music? Were you still participating in those what is it? Were you taking lessons, or was it just straight off of
Yeah,
the rip
it
at home trying it out?
yeah, I mean it was like playing in band, right? Percussion and piano, but that was through middle school. I stopped in high school, and that's when I started really producing with software and stuff. Other than that, I was just messing around. You know what I mean? Up, on the keyboard upstairs, just having fun. But then, yeah, once I figured out the software and the computer, probably about ninth, 10th grade, then it was game over. Just starting to dig deep into that, figure out how to use FL Studio, figure out how to use a couple. I mean, I can't remember. I probably started GarageBand, right, in like the computer lab at school or whatever.
Were
But
you in middle school? Were you still one of those fools that was outside? I mean, now because now you're playing sports, a little bit more organized sports. But were you still going out in the woods, still outside? Because now you think about it, like YouTube is popping,
oh,
MySpace is
YouTube, yeah,
the
yeah.
fucking social media platform. Nobody's competing.
I was making YouTube videos. That was the big thing. We got like video cameras growing up, so it was like I think middle school is when I really started getting into YouTube. So I was meeting people online, right? Like, you're meeting people from different states just that were making content and different. So I was making a bunch of stupid YouTube videos back then and having fun with that. But yeah, I learned a lot of skills, right? You learn how to animate with Flash Video, edit videos, Photoshop and all that. So that was good skill building for sure.
Damn, I remember Adobe Flash. That's what you said. The
Yeah, yeah. We
Flash,
had like
yeah.
some class at school. You had like enrichments or whatever. I was like, all right, I'm gonna learn how to do Flash real quick. But yeah, a
That's
lot
a
of good stuff like
throwback.
that. I
That's a
know, right?
fucking throwback right there.
Flash
Adobe
games
Flash.
stuff too. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly right. Install, make sure the plugins are installed.
I'm trying to think what shows were popping at this time. Cause now, Dragon Ball Z is anime, like it's the number
Yeah.
one thing. It's starting to become less niche and it's starting to slowly make its way into mainstream culture. Not there yet. I feel like that happened like 10 years later, but it's slowly starting to become a thing because I remember fool, everybody was about Dragon Ball and
We played
anime.
Dragon Ball Z on the playground. I remember that. That was elementary school.
Just
That was like,
Kamehameha waves and shit.
yeah, exactly. And it'd be like, I didn't really know. I mean, I watched a little bit of the show, but like, so I'd be like, catch me up. Like, I had this one friend who was into it big time, so he'd be, deep into that on the playground.
Into the anime shit. Like, oh, bro, you gotta, Vegeta, my boy Piccolo, just getting into
Yep.
it.
Yep. It was that, and then I would wake up super early in elementary school too, like 5 a.m. and watch Digimon.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It was like
Yeah,
that, huh?
yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh, Digimon, Pokemon.
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh cards for sure. I didn't really play Pokemon cards, but I had the Yu-Gi-Oh.
I'm trying to
But
think because we're in the same age, and what else were we into in middle school? What about your like clothes and shit, your fashion? Because you said middle school, you
oh,
starting to
everyone was
figure
trying to wear
yourself out.
skateboard shoes, right? That
Ah,
was the
yeah.
first big shoe switch up. I went from wearing like running shoes or whatever, tennis shoe, like I don't even remember what I wore before that. I remember I had some Charmander like zip or Velcro
The light
shoes.
ups and shit.
Yeah, yeah. So those I did have some Pokemon. And then it was like Vans, right, or Etnies, and like I don't think I ever had the Etnies, but like that was what everyone was wearing in middle school. So it's all about those big bulky skateboard
The
shoes.
the DCs and shit, the fucking
Yeah,
the big
right,
fat ones and shit.
right. Etnies too, man. Everyone had like the bar laces, and they'd all be doing different stuff with the shoelaces. Yeah.
Did you skate though? Were you a skater?
Not really. I got the skateboard off the garage sales. Probably had terrible trucks or something. So it fell first couple days. I was like, screw this. I don't really want to learn this, and so it never really got deep.
You had a nickname in middle school. I never asked anybody this, but you ever have a nickname in middle school?
Nickname in middle school.
This
I think it
we're
was
creating
Willis.
Willis. Oh,
Like what you talking about, Willis? Yeah, so
we're building the Dastamon lore here. Like we're gonna
yeah,
start calling you
Willis.
Willis. That's a funny
Willis.
fucking nickname and shit. Cause this is a real name too.
Yeah, yep, William. So Willis, that's pretty close.
And shit, good thing you didn't tell me that in college, fool. I would have ran with that shit. Hey, yo, my boy Willis right here.
Willis. That might have been fun.
That would have been a fucking funny ass little bit right there.
Yeah.
Then you get into high school, right? Where'd you go to high school?
International Academy out in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, right down the street from one of our future fraternity brothers. But yeah, that was cool. A lot of different people from different cultures there. International IB school, so like you're learning, curriculum that other people are at different spots in the world, right? Just like international AP for anybody who doesn't know it. And that was really cool because you just get in a bunch of different cultures, which is a good time, right? At high school when you're really coming into your own a little bit more, get a little more exposure, different kind of people.
How'd you make it into this high school? What the fuck is that's not a regular school, right?
It's like a consortium school between the different districts. So it's like they would, till you take a math test, as long as you're like a little bit ahead in math, a little bit ahead in English, they take you out there and it's a lottery based on your city or whatever. So it was like a 20-minute drive, nothing crazy. Free though, right? They just take your tuition dollars from the state and forward them on. You got to pay like a $200 science lab fee or something like that. But it was a good opportunity, right? You had to play sports back at your home high school, so I still played sports with all the kids I grew up with for baseball and everything. But yeah, I got to meet a bunch of different kids from around the county.
That's cool. At least you got to stay in touch with your friends. I didn't have that luxury. Like I always had a different set of friends.
Yeah,
I didn't go to the local middle school, so I had to make new friends over there. Then a completely different high school that wasn't even a part of the LAUSD, which is the district out here. But it's
yeah,
cool that you got to experience that and still keep a tight knit relationship with the people in your community. Right? That's probably beneficial because now you're no longer seeing them in school, so now you're excited to talk to them because obviously they're your teammates, but now you got something else to bond over than just on some regular shit like, oh, I seen you an hour ago. Like I know
right.
what you're up to.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where like you're not there early enough from practice or whatever because you're driving, and so there's a little bit of adversity you got to figure out with maybe not getting benched more than you want to for some of those reasons, but that's healthy too.
You were still hockey and baseball in high school?
Yeah, for the first couple of years of high school with hockey and then baseball all the way through. And then which is stupid. I took a break from hockey to finish like focus on school, and then I probably would have been done better in school if I kept playing. So, anyways, picked it back up in college, which was fun. That club hockey, so that was always cool.
Was um was college always what was it called? An option or was it mandatory?
I mean, it was expected in our house, right? So we weren't the first ones in college by any means. Our parents obviously both went grandparents, so um, yeah, it was basically about where you were going to go more than if you were going to go.
Oh shit. That's right, homie. Before we
Oh
get into
yeah.
OWU though, before we get into OWU, right? We talk about FL Studio. What kind of computer did you have at the time? You remember?
What
Was it a
at what
laptop or a
in
desktop
college
or
or what? Like a
no, in
high
high
school?
school? Yeah.
High school. Yeah, yeah. I had like a HP. What kind of laptop was it? Some HP laptop I bought in like 11th grade. I had like some other desktop before that, but that was my first laptop. That was great. Definitely
So,
got FL on that early.
so you're just making beats and learning how to produce in high school with a fucking laptop.
Oh yeah.
That's like a
Oh yeah.
classic producer
Posting stuff on
story.
Facebook. It was like before SoundCloud. It was on some like Facebook plugin. So like a lot of these things don't even exist. I can't even find some of these old beats. But yeah, somewhere on Facebook.
Did you ever get to upload any of your music or your mixes in MySpace Music
I
before it
think I
shut
did
down?
what I think I upload like I made an account. I think I uploaded one or two things, but like I never really used it that much. But because they
Yeah.
did that whole like space rebrand where it was literally just like a space bar or whatever, like a yeah.
Yeah, I don't really remember what the fuck I was doing. I wasn't really releasing music like that
No.
in like '09, 2010. And SoundCloud kind of came around, but not really. It was all I wasn't really releasing anything. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
remember what platforms people were using. But I remember MySpace Music was number one. At least I tried that. SoundCloud kind of came a little bit later. Maybe in Bandcamp. Nah, it wasn't even really a
Yeah.
thing like that.
I think it was really
Facebook.
SoundCloud became the big one, right? Like it was, people put YouTube videos with their music and stuff,
Yeah,
but like yeah.
but YouTube was it was it was always been known as the video platform,
Hmm.
right? It was more of like you have to have your music video there rather than because
Right.
a lot of the music I would find would be the audio version of it,
Yep.
but it would always be secondary to me finding. First, I would find the music video, then I would try to go and find the audio version of it.
Right. Yep.
Did you ever dream when you were making any music? Like, damn, like fuck college. I'd rather do this.
For sure. I mean, it was like, all right, well, this looks like a lot more fun, right? If you can just figure out how to get the music. I mean, you always want a lot of people to hear it if you make something cool, but um, for sure, that's always the goal is figure out how do you do more fun stuff for a living.
Do you have a stage name yet or not?
I'm trying to remember what the evolution of the Bill E stage name was, but I think it was like Electro Billy or I'm trying to remember when that really came. I was trying to figure out something along those lines. There was a few different iterations of it, but it was basically just like, a version of my name with E for electronic. Nothing, nothing too fancy.
See, I didn't even know that. I thought it was just a cool way to shorten your name and shit. That's dope
Yeah.
though. That's dope.
Yeah, I can't remember. I was trying to come up with something like that. I mean, I don't even know what originally, sparked the idea.
Hey, motherfuckers, the moment you start working on some music like that, you start dreaming.
Hmm.
It becomes the number one path. But when you have fucking people in your ear telling you, "Oh, you got to go to college and you got to think like this," it creates doubt, and you start looking at it as Plan B, which is, I mean, to me, it should have always been Plan A. But out here, we don't regret shit, dog. We just keep it pushing.
Yeah, you got to. Yeah. I mean, that was part of it. In high school, we took a couple of field trips down at some different, spots in Detroit, some like galleries and places where some DJs were working out of too. And so, like, you get to see some people in the wild really doing it, and you're like, okay, there's a scene, there's people that can do this. And so, yeah, because I'd make mixtapes or whatever as a kid, right? So I always loved music. And once you figured that was like, oh, people can go DJ and get paid for it too, and right, you go on tour or whatever, and you were watching these people, because that was the scene when electronic was really coming up, right? Like, Dead Mouse really was putting out a lot of his big albums, and that, Cascade, all those guys. When we were in college, that was a really big run. And it's gotten kind of another big run now, but that was really taking off then.
I know in college, a lot of what you were doing was DJing, like you were actually DJing at the bars and stuff. But did you ever get to do that in high school?
I think the first DJ gig I had was like a party at my buddy's house senior year. I think that was the first time I DJ'd in front of people.
Fucking dopamine hit to the max. Oh, you probably thinking you're the man and shit.
Oh yeah. My
That's right.
little like $100 mixer with it had like only one audio channel, so like not actually mixing, it's like all in your headphone. Like, so I'm sure the transitions were terrible, but
Fuck it.
it started the dream for sure.
That's right, dog. That's everybody starts somewhere. Everybody has a dream, but everybody starts somewhere that takes them to the next level. So it's good
Hmm.
to hear that. See, I didn't even know this. See, this is it. This is why we do this, because
This is
we're
the good
learning
stuff.
learning
Yeah.
more about you, because when you're fucking spend 75% of your time drunk, fool, just chilling, you don't remember these stories. You never get to the point where you tell the story. But
Yeah. Yeah.
now we get into OWU. How the fuck did you get to OWU? Like, what was the decision to be like, I'm gonna go to Ohio Wesleyan University?
It was one of those things where you looked at the common application and you put in a filter. It's like, all right, what are the, D3 liberal arts schools within a couple hundred miles of Detroit? And you tick them off the list. And so I think I applied to like 20 schools or something. And then it was like, all right, cool. Which ones did you get accepted into? What was the money you got? And so it came down to that, right? It was like money situation with scholarships and whatnot. And then like I wanted somewhere to go that I liked, that was relatively close. Because I think I told my parents I wanted to go to like USC for film or like
Out here?
Florida. Yeah. And because there's some dude from my high school that did that. And then there was, they said no for sure. And then there's an IB scholarship for like Florida State, I think, where they were given like anyone with an IB diploma like full ride or something. And I was like, I'm gonna go to Florida State. My parents were like, you're not going to Florida State. So then I was like, all right, I'll go to Ohio. Just do something different. Got to stay a little bit, 3 hours away, and then looked like a nice campus, looked cool.
You could say out of state food, but y'all motherfuckers is neighbors.
For real, three
Motherfuckers,
hours. This is close.
neighbors as fuck, dog. And
It's not the
weather's
same though. That was the one thing that shook me when I got down there. I
oh,
expected
it's
the
different.
culture to be the same. Yeah, I figured it would be like pretty much like Detroit, but let me tell you what, Columbus and Detroit are not similar.
I mean, but if you think about it, Detroit already had a history. Like
Yeah, and I think that's
Columbus
part
is
of it. Yeah,
Columbus
yeah.
is I think we're gonna look at Columbus in 100 years the way we're looking at Detroit now, because of the Ford factories and everything. So the way Columbus is now is probably what Detroit looked like in the what 60s, 70s. I might be wrong,
Maybe
but
even
from
maybe
what
a
they talked
little
about it,
earlier, but yeah, probably a little bit earlier. But yeah, I think Columbus is popping for sure. And I think it's a cool. I guess I expected like hockey, for example, right? Detroit's hockey town. I figured people would like a lot of people in Ohio would play hockey, but it was different. It was like all of a sudden it's like nope, it's either basketball or football, right? People don't really care about hockey.
nobody give a fuck about the Blue Jackets, right? That's the team.
No, their rankings just came out last week on most valuable NHL teams. Guess who's last?
The Blue Jackets.
Yeah, Blue Jackets. CBJ is last place for value.
That's crazy.
Even though there's new teams, like there's Seattle Kraken, brand new team. Utah Hockey Club, brand new team. Worth more than CBJ, I guess.
Damn. Ohio going outside. Hey, I love Ohio and shit. I always gotta have a soft spot for Ohio, but
Yep. Yep.
come on, we gotta do better. We gotta do better. Then you get to campus. You're a year older than me. You get there 2012, right?
Yep.
Right? 2012? Or am I tripping?
Yeah, yeah, fall 2012.
How was that, dog?
That was crazy, right? Like getting to college fall your freshman year, you're like, especially if you're not partying too much in high school, it's a lot of freedom all of a sudden. So obviously you soak it all in, and you go meet a bunch of new people and just have some fun. So yeah, it was great.
Did you get invited to PDT, or was that something that happened on accident?
I think it was kind of an accident because I didn't get invited by a brother. I got invited by like some kid on the lacrosse team that lived in Bashford. So he's like, he came through. It was like the first night we were there, like welcome week or whatever. It's like, hey, we're going to a party at the house up on the hill. I'm like, all right, cool. And it was Fidel and was on the front porch with Reed Callahan and Will and a couple other older guys, and just started talking. And it was like kind of like these guys. They look like they're having a good time. Everyone's hanging out in the front yard, on the balcony and everything, playing music. A lot of people coming through, and so after seeing that, I didn't really know anything about frats. Like I didn't watch the movies. I didn't know anything about it. I had no idea if like I don't think I was like planning. I didn't really know about it, right? I just kind of stumbled in that first day.
It was also a different culture, dog, at that time. I feel like it just in the snap of a finger, it was the old timers, and then my class came in, and you guys were kind of in between,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, there was definitely a transition there for sure. But that's everything, right? Especially with like a, turnover in a fraternity house, right? There's going to be eras of different people that come through.
What about sports? Were you deciding on playing sports? Was that ever a thought, or was that something that was just like, fuck it, I'm here for academics?
I didn't think I was good enough, honestly. I don't even know if I gave myself a chance to even try out freshman year. I tried out for baseball in like fall of my junior year, senior year. So I played fall ball. But if I would have actually gone after it, I feel like I could have played. The same thing with golf. Like, at that point it was a grades thing, I think, because I think they were asking the basketball team to go out and play. Like Benny was playing the whole, I mean, not, I don't think golf was necessarily too high of a bar to go on the squad later in the years, right? Like maybe freshman year was tougher, but like they were asking for new guys at some point. So I should have done that. Play at the
The
club hockey team, right? We played like it was, a
Oh
couple
yeah,
of,
true. Yeah, I remember that now.
we
Yeah,
did that. That was fun.
the OWU hockey team. That
Oh
was
yeah. I
interesting.
think
I
we got
was
kicked off because someone was like they caught us drinking in the locker room, our fans. So they kicked us out.
what? When was
Yeah.
this?
I don't know, freshman and sophomore year maybe.
That's
It
crazy.
wasn't even us, it was the fans. It was like, all right, cool. We wanted like people to come to the game. Like, come on. It was in
Oh, so it
Columbus.
wasn't even you fools.
No, it was the fans. I was like, come
That's
on. They found beer in the locker room and there's the whole deal.
that's right. Rowdy shit. You know how it is in college.
Yep, yep. I mean, I'll go play hockey tonight and people are drinking in the locker room beforehand. They take beers to the bench, beers after. So it's just,
That's the
hockey
culture.
culture. Yep,
Yeah. What
yep.
about the social life? I mean, we could talk about rowdy days and rowdy times, but OWU had a big population of students that either student athletes, but they also had a big population. Remember they had the slews and they had a
Oh,
bunch of
yeah.
these social clubs. Did you ever get to participate in any of that besides PDT?
Yeah, I think the House of Thought. I went to a few parties freshman year. That was a thing. I don't know. I can't remember when that they closed that building down, but I was in there a little bit. Nothing crazy though. I don't think I was. I met a lot of different people, but I wasn't like I was in too many groups. I mean, it was the
Mm.
radio. I was in the marketing club, like marketing group. I
Oh
think that was
shit.
the first thing I joined. Uh, did student council or whatever one semester.
Oh shit, I forgot that existed. Damn, that's crazy.
There's an article online of like Bill George questioning the student budget and I don't know, it's kind of funny because they had a blank check budget to manage the student programming for remember that like the O elephant, the purple like the pink elephant thing, or like the I don't know, it's so weird. Campus programming board.
Oh, yo, I remember. Yeah, I do remember.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
slight memory, but I kind of do
yeah.
remember this shit. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I kind of
They
do
brought
remember.
Drake Bell. Remember that? They were like, "Oh, we're gonna spend $50,000. I don't know how much money it was. Something stupid. It was like we brought Drake Bell.
That shit was funny. But there was an event, right, that happened in between your freshman year and by the time that we met, because you had an interesting college experience, right? You want to talk about that and then go into the story about the boat?
Yeah, right. So that's one of the things, right? Like I graduated with your class, but I didn't come in with your class. Freshman year was tough. Took some classes probably shouldn't have. Had a little too much fun second semester. And then, so sophomore fall, I spent some time down in Louisiana with my great aunt and her nonprofit called Friendships. And so with them, it was like a boot camp situation where you're down there for like a 12-week boot camp program, and then you're down there for the rest of the year working on the boats. And they do disaster relief both domestically for like back at that point it was like the tornadoes in Oklahoma, whatever hurricane was down at the time. And they've been doing this stuff for like, I don't know, call it 40 years, 50 years maybe. Um, and they take ships all around the world, or they'll just send materials, right, depending on what they have figured out. So was down there working. There was a mission that went out going to Honduras to go live down there for a few months with the class above us. And then that, had some snafu. And then we went out to get some stuff for the crew. Turns out they put me on the crew because they needed more people as a backup, and so then I got to go down and the goal was to go live on Roatan by Honduras for a few months on this what was it called like outpost or whatever they call it, right? And then go work down there with this group. But we did not make it. We had a sailboat, like a 100-year-old sailboat, originally put together for the Queen of England and her family in like
What the fuck?
yeah, it was like 1909 or something like that, or no, what was it? Like 1929, and it's like this old 100-foot, something like that, teak decks and everything's creaking. You're out there. Basically, we took it down the Calcasieu River out into the Gulf. First 2 days, you're just like dodging oil wells. There's like a crew of like 9 people on this, 10 people, something like that. And so too many people for the number of beds. So I'm just like sleeping on this little pilot house bench where we did all the navigation. So people are coming in every hour, waking me up, and I'm like the boat's sideways. So I'm like sleeping with my feet against the wall. So that was cool. It was a couple days of that. And then we started hitting some rough waters, and then it started to get a little dicey. People were getting seasick the whole time. And captain had to be up on a bunch of different watches because you basically had like 2 or 3 deckhands that were experienced sailors. Like I'd done a little bit of sailing, and I was probably, one of the, top 5 sailors there, and that's not good at that point because I had definitely never been on the ocean.
Who got experience this shit? That's
Not like
crazy.
not much, man. Like couples, as a kid. And so when that's saying that what your crew is, the captain definitely had his work cut out for him. So after a few days of that, we were getting smacked around. Some of the bigger boats were calling us like, "What are you guys doing out here?" And so that was crazy. The main sails ripped in the overnight. Like my watch crew was 3 to 6 a.m. and 3 to 6 p.m. Right, so I'd be 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. And one day I woke up and our mainsail was ripped by Cozumel down there on the Yucatan. And we just were like, all right, we're getting beat up here. So we figured, all right, let's go and find a little bay. We'll relax. We'll make some food. Because basically we weren't eating real food. We were eating like saltine crackers and Twinkies because, no one could put anything on the stove up front because it was swinging around too much.
That's crazy. That's some
Yeah,
struggle shit.
it was wild. And I got lucky, I think, that being up on deck and not having a real bed, because I'll tell you what, below deck, it was just dank, right? It just smelled like really almost not moldy, but musty, and like you were like cramped, and like I could see why you'd, get seasick if you were sitting down there.
It smelled
Um,
like the fucking 1500s down there, fool. The
yeah,
fuck is
for real, for real. And you were just like, everything's creaking. It's all wood boat. So with every wave hits the boat, it's like, it's just like, oh, what's going on? Like, right. So, it was good. We figured, all right, cool, we'll get some rest. Same thing, right? I wake up after being on a night watch. We got pretty much where we wanted to go. I come up on deck and it's like this beautiful bay, right? Like this Mexican, Caribbean bay, and everyone on our boat's really upset. And I was like confused because we just been at, storms for like a week. And then I'm like, why? Like, what's going on? And they're like, we're stuck. And they had pulled the boat onto a sandbar, and we basically, had a 13-foot keel buried in the sand. and it's a big boat, right? So that thing's not moving right away. So we sat there, we took the dinghy out there, we took the anchor, we buried the anchor in the ground, and you'd like take the winch and use the crank to like pull ourselves forward and just drag ourselves using the anchor out of the sandbar. We spent the whole day doing that. And we finally got out and we found a spot. We're like, all right, let's keep going. Let's get out of here. And then we hit another sandbar and we got deeper on that sandbar. So at that point, we were like, all right, well, we're just locked for the day at least. So we, had some other boats that came by and try and help us out there. We were buying this ecotourism area down there, like Quintana Roo or however you say it.
Quintana
Uh,
Roo.
Quintana Roo. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
like a bunch of like panga boats down there, like those little 10 horsepower, 20 horsepower engines, um, fiberglass boats, and they would, take all the people to look at all the fish and everything. Um, but then we were stuck, right? They tried to like pull the, mast of the boat to the side so we could get the keel up and go, but we were stuck. So that first night was a little bit creepy. It was like, all right, what are we gonna do? We're just straight up stuck down here. And then it took about 3 weeks to mobilize another ship. We tried other stuff during the time, right? But like, we were not getting that boat out. We tried a lot of different things. But after 3 weeks, we got supplies with the bigger ship that came down from Louisiana to help us out, bring more crew, bring more supplies like floats and stuff. So we were just basically living down there on a boat in the Caribbean, right? Like I had a little wetsuit because it was, it got cold. It was later in the year. It was like November. And so, every day you're just like, all right, I'm gonna go dive and swim in the water for a second, go chill. And yeah, it's, you're stuck, but man, good spot to be stuck.
Did you get to where'd you get the fuck to sleep? Where'd you sleep at, fool?
On deck, dude. It was like I had an air mattress on deck. And so it would rain like in the middle of the night. There's like little squalls down there when you're in the
Oh,
Caribbean, like just little pockets of intense pouring rain. So it'd be like 2 in the morning, and all of a sudden it would just start pouring rain. And I'd be like, all right, well, I'm
time,
soaking wet. Like we
time to
crawl
wake
back
up.
inside. Yeah, exactly. Crawl back with my like wet sleeping bag into the fucking pilot house and be like, all right, cool.
That shit sounds sad, dog.
Yeah, it was rough. It was beautiful when you'd wake up though. It'd be like a sunrise over the Caribbean, but you get the other side of it too.
What about for food and clothes and shit like that?
We got, well, clothes. I wore the same bathing suit the whole time. I don't think I wore a shirt most of the time than some of it, but like, it was warm out.
What the fuck?
And then food, it was like we somehow our people that were in charge of the galley had just packed a bunch of rice and beans extra. And thank God they did because we ran out of food like the last couple of days before the big ship got there, but we had some money and we were like not too far from this village, like kind of south of Tulum. I don't know how far south of Tulum, maybe 25, 50 miles south of Tulum. But so there was like some little market in there that we got like some small items out of, but nothing crazy.
Did you stumble upon any Mexican foods out down there?
Mm,
Or Mexican women?
I went out. There was when I finally got off the boat, I went out with these people and we went to some restaurant. I really don't even remember what I had because it was one of those things where like I think I was like 19 at the time, maybe. And when I got off the boat and out of the program, I was just going home. Um I had a couple beers and went and like met these people that I was staying with that were like friends with, or it was Jack Nicklaus, right? The golfer, the famous golfer.
What?
His son-in-law was down there looking at golf course locations, and they were staying at the same place that like this little resort, like this little like grass hut resort,
What
but
the
it
fuck?
was in this fishing village. And so like I met these people and just like partied with Jack Nicklaus's son-in-law. And like that's why I ate some food. I have no idea what I ate, but there was that.
Oh, see, I didn't know this. You had a so there was it's almost like a destiny moment right there.
Yeah, right. Like, yeah, they were down there looking for courses. Anyways, like, I at the time it didn't really convert into anything, but yeah.
Hey, it don't matter. You were on survival shit. Anything a little different than the boat was probably heaven.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, whatever food I had was great. I can't tell you what it was. I don't remember.
Yeah, it's probably some cool little dishes, sick
Yeah,
ass meals.
for
So
sure.
how the fuck? So you lasted there 3 weeks, right? How the fuck did you get out? Or how the
No, we were down
fuck you
there
make it
two
back?
months. Two
Oh, two
months.
months.
Yeah, the
Oh
rest of the crew was down
hell
there
no.
3. My parents were like, all right, because I told them I was like, I'm going to Honduras on the boat. My dad sails too, so he wasn't as worried about the sailing problem as my mom probably was. But when you tell them you're going across the ocean and you'll be, call them in 10 days, and then you don't call them in 10 days, and then 20 days, and then 30 days, they start to get a little worried. So I think that was a little problem. Them just not knowing what was going on. Um, but after a while, my dad figured out what was happening, and like that, the lady that owned that little mini resort happened to live like the next town over from my parents back here. So my dad called that lady. She like hooked it up with a Ponga driver to go get on like one of those boats to pick me up off the ship. And then they pulled me in. Some guy was like down there for a fishing trip from Miami, and he drove me in his Jeep up through the jungle back to Cancun. And I just caught a flight in Cancun home back to Detroit. Got Christmas with the fam.
Yo, that's straight luck right there. What the
Yeah, yeah.
fuck, fool?
That was wild.
That is intense. What was the biggest thing you learned from this trip? Never go back.
Never go back. I don't even know the biggest thing. I don't know. That's a tough question to put it down. There's just a lot of stuff you pick up, right? But I guess it's just the resilience, right? Of just like, we'll figure it out, right? It's not, it's not the end of the world. Kind of just, look at the bright side of things. There's always something to be grateful for. And I think that was, my great uncle told me that while I was down there working in the water in the wetsuits. He's like, Billy, you're stuck and you're trying everything you can to do to get out of here. But one day you're going to be sitting in an office building with a picture of this hanging on your wall, thinking about like, why did I ever try to leave that place?
Oh, that's dope. That is a beautiful piece of advice right there.
Yeah, right.
And then
So
you could also say that it pays to know people, right? It pays to know to have a network. Like how the fuck, you know what I'm saying? Like the lady in charge lives the town over.
yeah,
You know,
right.
it pays to know people that are part of different industries and different parts of the country. That's dope, man.
Yeah, that was wild. Good small world for sure.
So you go back, you're back at Royal Oak. What was the deciding factor to go back to college? Did you have like an idea, or was that something that was forced?
No, I mean, I think part of the thing was once you fail, you want to go back and, achieve, right? And you want to right the wrong and, prove yourself worth it. So I think that was I had a chip on my shoulder for sure from that. And it was one of those things of like part of going to boot camp and part of going to the program. That was the conclusion of how do you build your self-control and your discipline to a level of like accomplishing what you want to. So that was the thing of like, all right, there's a check mark I want to get. I got to get the degree at some point. Um, and so yeah, I feel like I told you, in my family, it was more of expected to go to college. It was more of so where. But I think I had more of a vested interest at that point. I was like, damn, I went from having all this potential to now having this big F on my record. So, you come out of there a little bit more chip on your shoulder.
How was your mental state during this time? Were you on some fucked up shit? Because now, look, for you to leave college, you get stranded in a fucking middle of, well, I'm not gonna say nowhere, but for you it was in the middle of nowhere,
I never
right?
heard of it. Yeah.
And then you go back, and then now you just like, what the fuck? So what was your mind like? What was your thought process? Were you excited? Were you nervous?
I mean, I was trying to just get on and move on with life. Or I think that was part of it was nice and peaceful down there, but part of it you thought you were missing out on progress and everyone else moving forward. And so when I came back, that was kind of the thing too. Like you behind some of the people you came to school with, and you were outside of the loop on some of that. So that was part of the maybe the struggle and the adjustment. But it was get back to school, have some fun, be with friends again, and yeah. So I think it was pretty positive, right, coming out of that.
Do you ever feel like you ever experience FOMO when you went back to OWU? Because now everybody has a whole was a whole other semester without you, whole different experience that everybody's referencing. Like, hey, you remember this, remember that, and you can't experience or you don't understand what they're talking about. Did you ever have any FOMO? Did you ever feel some type of way?
Yeah, I mean, you miss out on inside jokes, right? So you just get a step behind. You got to catch up. So yeah, that's definitely a thing, right? You fit in with a different crew. But again, that's just what life gives us. We're all on different paths.
Speaking of paths, now you go back to OWU, and now I'm there, and our paths cross.
Hell yeah.
This is now I'm living my life over there, and I started making my way around, and I'm still kind of iffy about it, just because people like me don't do that. We don't do the PDT life. This is different. But I was a rowdy motherfucker. right? And
Yep.
it was a rowdy motherfucking environment. And then our paths crossed a little bit, right? But it wasn't until we could say our sophomore year, right, where I lived on the second floor and you lived on the third floor, where our bond started taking place. We start
Yeah.
chopping it up about music and hip hop, and then you're showing me about techno and all these techno artists, or telling me about Skrillex and Dead Mouse and all these other fucking underground electronic music artists, which I credit to you, which because I at that point I just knew a little bit, right? And then you kind of put
Hmm.
me up on game on that and Moomba Tone. You explained to me what Moomba Tone was. And but speaking of Moomba Tone, before we continue, how the fuck you find Moomba Tone?
That was like 2010. It was all from Diplo's record label. He had Mad Decent. So he was doing a bunch of different like he was all over the world, right? Like so he had a lot of Afro beats and stuff pretty early on and stuff. So he was a lot of experimental drums and everything. So in DC there was this movement in like 2010 where it was all taking like reggaeton beats and then mixing it with Dutch house. And that blew up, right? So it's Dylan Francis is probably one of the bigger names. Munchie, there's a couple other ones, all on Mad Decent, and I liked it because it's just slowed it down, right? Like everything I was producing at that point was a lot of like electro, 128 beats per minute, even some of the faster stuff at 140. This comes all the way down to like 110, 108, and it's just a little sexier, right? A little smoother, and so you get to
Different.
little more flair. Yeah, 100%, right? So you still get the same kind of sounds, and then that drew me in, right? It was something that like I could kind of cut my own teeth in.
I could sit here and ask you a bunch of questions about academics. I want to talk about music, but what'd you major in?
I can't remember economics, right? I think I started in physics, did some of the science stuff, pre-med, all that, but yeah, finished up in econ management.
Any memory about the academic part of OWU that you remember?
I remember being in the physics lab in the basement with like a class of like six people and being like, all right, this is probably not going to cut it for me.
Doing the
And
centrifuge, fucking the shit that spins. What the fuck is it
yeah,
called? Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Oh
So,
man.
and yeah, the science is awesome. I still love that stuff, but I think I did internships and stuff in the lab. I think business is just more my speed, more social, but definitely interested in all that stuff still.
Right. But like I mentioned before, now we're tight. We're close. Because people want to say that, oh, you're gonna be homies with 30, 60 people. You're not. You're fucking not gonna be homies with 30, 60 people. You're gonna be cool with them, right?
Yep.
You might not agree with them with everything, but there's
Right.
an understanding. But
Right.
with us, we used to stay up, get high, do some things, and then fucking drink, right? And then so we would
Yep.
stay up till the fucking wee hours of the fucking morning, just chopping it up, going to Slocum, right?
Ooh.
Drinking coffee, doing all kinds of shit that had nothing to do with academics, right? We're partying, we're sharing ideas, boom, boom, boom. And I have to tell this story, though. This is
All
my one
right.
of my favorite stories of all time.
I run it.
At this point, I'm already, O3 on campus, right? I already dropped a couple music videos. Everybody knows that I make music. You're already DJing, right? You're already doing the DJs at the bars. Everybody knows who you are. And I say everybody because it's a small ass school.
Yeah. Not that
So we
hard.
we have a music thing going on. But a lot of our conversations are about how different we are. Me with my boom bap LA underground. It's not the mainstream. It's not what the classic West Coast. At the time, I wasn't really making that like G Funk, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre music. I'm making more of like a New York underground with an LA twist kind of style, which out there nobody really fucked with, right? And it's not obviously we're listening to fucking Future and all these fools blow up.
Yeah, right.
And then you're over here with the Moomba tone, and then you're doing your kind of music, your underground techno and your style, which is different than what everybody's listening to. That what was it? Electronic, the house, I don't know
Yeah,
what
like
style.
EDM, like yeah,
EDM,
like
yeah, that shit.
progressive house. Yeah.
So a lot of our conversations is about how different we are, and I think that's what we connected with because yeah, we might have been quote unquote established artists on campus, but nobody really fucked with our shit like that, dog. You had to have a specific ear and a specific taste to be able to fuck with our shit. And all these conversations led to one time that we're at fucking Slocum. We're high out of our fucking minds. And we blazed it so fucking much. We're high out of our mind going to Slocum to do some fucking work. But it's empty, nobody's there. We're just chopping it up. We're on our separate tables. And I don't know how the conversation came up. I think we were already talking about starting a collective or like a record label. And we're choosing a name. And in front of me, and you know how like back in the day, because they removed these tables, but
Yeah.
people used to carve their names or carve words or whatever onto these tables, these historic tables on Slocum. And I look down and we're trying to choose a name. It's like, what should we call it? Ba ba bam. And I look down and in big letters it says the regime. And I say, hey, what if we just say the regime? And at the time, you kind of like gave me the stamp, the rowdy one. You remember this? I think you were
Yeah.
one of the first people because at that point I knew that I was rowdy, but I wasn't really using the word rowdy
Right,
like
right,
that.
right.
And you're like,
Right.
you should just start calling yourself the rowdy one. I was like, all right, fuck it, I like that shit, the rowdy, rowdy this, and oh yeah, we're rowdy. And then like, and not even 10 seconds after I said the regime, you're like rowdy regime,
Rowdy regime.
and then boom, there it was, dog,
Yeah. That the double R.
double R. So my question to you is based off of the that conversation that we had because after that it was almost like it was an unstoppable force. It was meant to be right in our own little world and our own little way of thinking about it. You go home. What was the idea behind the logo?
Mm, the logo. So the logo is like, all right, how do you get the double R, right? So it started with the double R. You got to put that in there somehow. And then I think it just became, as I was messing with different versions of it, I wanted something that would be, unique and iconic and that you could quickly do. Because there's a lot of different logos that are double R, right? There's Rolls Royce, there's Rockstar's got some other thing out there too. There's a bunch of different ones, right? But once it kind of came through that there was like a little face in it, I kind of went with that, right? It kind of reminded me of the Obey logo. I got the face there, so it kind of gained that same, street art type of graffiti vibe to it too at the same time. But yeah, it was really just how to get the coolest double R we could pull off.
And honestly, me being from South Central and having this whole fucking image, it was on brand, right? Because obviously this is what we're gonna run with. So I remember which one came first, the one that's just the face or the one that has the face on the little box and it says Rowdy Regime on the bottom.
I think I was messing around with it and that face became the first one. And then I think we stripped it down afterwards. But I think I was just messing with it and it like got the face. And I was like, this is kind of sweet because it was like almost like a hidden logo. Like the logo was hidden in the face.
Yeah, I remember this. I remember when you first showed it to me, I knew it was $1 million, fool. Right away, I was like, this is gonna be a fucking money making idea. Not in terms of making money, but it was like
Yeah.
a metaphor,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's gonna
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
this is dope. This is I already
Right.
knew right away it was dope because I didn't even have a logo like that. I mean, I was using the
Hmm.
baby food, but it wasn't really out there like that. But I needed something that I mean, speaking for myself, and I'm pretty sure you feel
Sure.
the same way. We needed
Totally.
something to let it be known that we're different, but this is us. Right? We
Yep.
wanted on some ego shit. We wanted to stamp it that yeah, we're on campus. This is us.
Yep.
How'd you make the logo?
I'm trying to remember. I think that might have been the same way. I think I sketched it. Same thing with the Elite logo is like sketched and I think I scanned it and then I put it in like Microsoft Paint and edited it and then I probably put it in Photoshop after that and just, smoothed it out from there.
For to this day, anybody that's ever seen it, I mean, we could sit here and years later, the logo went through a lot of transformations and everything, but at that time, it was it. It was
Yeah.
everywhere, dog. It was
Yeah.
everywhere. And then
Yeah.
I remember I came back going into our junior year. Now we're living in Smith because we're fucking, we're academically punished. But I pull up with the shirts. Yeah, I made
Those
them right here for
shirts.
real clean, dog. It was like $10 to
Those
make out here in the hood,
shirts. Yeah. Those
rocking
went
them shits.
hard. Those were great shirts, dude. I mean, I got that picture with you, me, and Willie posted up in
Oh,
Smith.
it was funny. We were just I just had Will. He was I interviewed him twice already, so I feel like I've had multiple episodes with him, but I never got to talk to him about that picture. Not really like that too much, get into it. But those shirts fool, were everywhere. I remember rocking them. I still have one of the versions that I made out here years later with on hanging in my closet. But it
Boobs
was
has my shirt, so I got to get a new one still. I don't have
yes,
one right now. I gave it to him for like Halloween or something.
it's funny because I have a picture where he's rocking that shirt. But anyways, now we're into it. You know, now I drop a mixtape, the Rowdy one. It has the logo. The logo's everywhere, right? Now you're DJing at the bars and you're including the logo in the flyers. You
Yep.
know, I found a couple flyers. I think we did a you would include me in the flyers, but I wasn't really doing anything and shit.
Oh, you're like the MC.
I
Yeah.
was just not even MC. I was just like inviting people like, yo, pull up my boy Billy,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah, 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 yeah.
When the now going back in the timeline a little bit, when was the first gig? When did the first gig at OWU happen, like in terms of DJing?
I'm trying to remember if I did it freshman year. It might have been freshman year. But I know like part of the other reason I was PDT, like right off the rip, is because Marshall, who was the
Yeah.
main DJ on campus at that time, was the president of Fight Out. And so I got close with him I don't even know how I met him. Maybe just at the bar, maybe from Heather and stuff from the bartender. I really don't know how I first, but I made friends with Marshall pretty early on. And so he showed me the ropes and introduced me to all the people at the bar and everything. And so I gotta say, I want to say it was freshman year, might have been sophomore, which would have been like the end when I came back. I have to go figure that out. That's a good question.
Because I have these flyers and then there's a specific one. Was it my junior or senior year? It was the day that we did that dual performance at Solar Saloon.
The Solar Saloon, Rowdy Regime.
That was like the highlight of the Rowdy regime. That was it. It could have been cooler if it happened at Clancy's, but the reason that it happened at Solar Saloon was it made it even more special because it was like divided. It was half the people. What I'm gonna say, like 75% of the people were there for the drinks and everything, but our 25%, like our little fucking group that we had, that little corner, was cracking that day. Dog, remember that shit?
Yeah. Well, because it was such a packed
Boom.
atmosphere, like that place was going off because of that.
What was the $8 Moscow? What was the $8 bottomless? I forgot what the fuck
Oh
it
yeah,
was.
was it Long Island's?
Long Island's, yeah, it was
Long
like some cheap
Island's.
shit, dog. And I was like, what
Yeah.
the fuck? It was the first time I ever heard of Long Island too. But we're in this little corner and I perform, or yeah, I think you DJ'd first, then I perform, and then you went back to DJing, and
It was
it
that
was
song we wrote. It was Double Trouble. We
that shit
performed.
was
We by the
yo,
way, we still
yes.
that's the only version of that song. There is no recorded version. We have the acapella or the instrumental, but you have no recorded vocals for that. So like that's a
I think I
place in this.
freestyled that day, dog. Pretty sure I just
You
freestyled
probably
that.
definitely. I think we wrote a little bit, but probably went off. I'm sure in that day for sure.
And it's minuscule memory, small little memory that many people might not remember, but to me, that meant the world to me, dog. Like to be able to, because it was just you at first, remember? And then you brought me in. It was like, hey, you want to talk to the owner of Solar? Like he wants to have some people perform. I think I don't know if the conversation was about performing or bringing in more people. It was a marketing
Yeah,
scheme
yeah.
to bring in more people during the week or on a Friday. And I said, fuck it. And that was the only time I ever got to perform at a bar at OWU.
Was it really?
Yeah, so I give you props because obviously it was because of you. I never got to do it at Clancy's. Thankfully, I never got to do it at Clancy's. That shit it would have been a some crazier shit,
The
but
floor would have broken in.
it was it was a special moment, and I still have that flyer. I have it on my website too. Actually, I'm gonna send it to you.
Really?
The
Oh,
link.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
The only thing that sucks is that we never got to document a lot of those days.
I know. The only stuff we have is like when we went to Kent State, we have some of that stuff on
Oh
film.
shit, I
That was in that
forgot
same
about that.
semester. Yeah, we came back. We were like, all right, we're killing it. We had met Beauchene. I don't, was that the first time you met Beauchene? Was that trip?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because I met Beauchene for like the summer before, or like maybe that was freshman year. I met Beauchene going out to like Kent State Fight Out for Biprov. And then he was DJing out there. And I think I did some graphics for him. And then he's like, come out. And we went out there for the weekend.
I forgot about that Kent State trip. People don't know. People don't know about this trip. I forgot about it. We went to Kent State, which is it south or north in Ohio from where we were at?
East, maybe?
East. What is the big city close to Kent
I
State?
think it's on the way to Pittsburgh.
Oh, so it's going east, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Bro, that day, I remember the first day when we're in that off-campus Fido house and they had the stripper pool
Oh yeah, the basement.
in the basement.
Yeah.
And we somehow connected with people that knew people at OWU. It was like these two chicks.
Oh yeah, I
Remember
can't.
that?
Yeah, I forgot about that.
But I had never seen that many fucking brews in my fucking life. Like we would throw parties with a gang of brews.
Hmm.
But what we would have compared to what they had, these fools had like four walls just stacked to the ceiling
Yeah,
with
that was a whole
cases.
different level.
I was like, what the fuck? I think it was the first time I ever got to party at a big school too. Yeah, it was intense. But it was all it's funny. A lot of our rowdy moments, at least for us, it starts with the music, right? And
Yeah.
I feel like we did a lot of good work in terms of communication and talking and planning a lot of stuff out that might have never made it into the real world. But I have to ask you, was it you who they approached first for the OWU radio? Or did they come to me directly? I don't remember this shit.
I was just digging up something and I thought I saw like an application. Like they must like I put a cover letter out. So like I don't know if they like asked for people to be involved and we both signed up or like there was something like that though. I was just looking at this and I wrote like some cover letter.
Or you still have it?
Yeah, let me see here.
What the fuck?
Dear Dr. Costu. Remember
Ooh.
Dr. Costu?
Uh,
Was I the general? I wasn't the general manager, was I?
nah, that was Connor Golden
Oh, they
of the
gave him I applied for the GM job. Here you go. Here's my application.
and then you send it to him.
Yeah, so I guess that means
Can you email that to me? I want to read this
you want to
shit,
see
bro.
that? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I can't
November
put it up on the
7th.
screen, but yeah,
Well,
I
this
want
is
to.
from 10 years ago. November 7th, 2014.
Yeah, email that shit to me, please. I want to be able to read. I might, like I said, I don't really want to be able to put up too many images because of the audio format. I want,
Which one you
you
want?
know,
Oh, which email?
I'll text it to you. We could do this after
All right,
the
cool.
conversation's over. But yeah,
Yeah.
the OWU radio, because you were there with me the first day, but you never had a segment, right, on the OWU radio.
I think you might no, I did, but you might have gone first. I
Yeah, I
probably
don't.
did. I don't know how many times I did it, but I did mixes.
And so, because I would go on at 9.
I think I did Wednesdays. I had Mad Beats. Remember Mad Beats?
Oh yeah, you had a different day because I used to do Fridays.
Oh, I was Wednesday. I did Wasted Wednesdays, 7 to 9.
But I remember you were there the first day of my OWU radio segment, the Rhyme House,
The
and
Rhyme House. Oh, that
we
was
even
awesome.
recorded the introduction in the third floor of PDT using your computer, and it was my microphone. Remember
Yeah.
this? We
Oh
spent like
yeah.
an hour trying to figure out a name, trying to
Yep.
figure something out. And it was the fuck, and I think you edited and you put the little money sign that's this is the
Oh, the
Rhyme House.
cha-ching,
Yeah, the
cha-ching.
cha-ching.
Yeah, yeah.
This is the Rhyme House, and then boom, and it was like fucking perfect.
Do you still have that intro somewhere?
I do not have that intro. I wish I still
Do you
did.
have any like clips of you doing the radio at all? Like any recorded
I
clips?
have some pictures, not
Okay.
oh, bro. I have it was semester of recordings that I found on the archives of the OWU radio that I will send to you because maybe your show's on there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That'd be sweet.
And I'm gonna clip them and I'm gonna upload them to my YouTube channel. Just I don't know if I can though because it has a lot of unlicensed music, but I have to clip it just in case that website ever goes down. But they are archives of the OWU radio that your
Wow.
segment might be able to pop up.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah. But music was dope. I think it was most of our conversations revolved around music.
Yeah, we listen to a lot. You taught me how to freestyle.
Final final question about music, because there's still a lot of things we could cover. Or even final question about OWU. What was the thing you learned the most about OWU? Or just in
Hmm.
life that OWU taught you?
Oof. That's a good question. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's that you got to do what you got to do, right? Like I think struggling through school, I think makes you realize that it's up to you and no one can do it for you just because your parents tell you got to do something or just because like you're in a situation. It's all going to come down to what you put into it. That's what you're going to get out of it.
It was it was fun. It was a fucking it was meant to be. It was a destiny fucking moment
Oh yeah.
or
Oh
destiny
yeah. In that
time
regard, are you
period.
kidding me? Yeah, that's insane. Right? Like you developed as people in that regard and like I think it was more like high school than my high school was because in terms of just drama and fun and social aspect, but that's what you were doing, right? You were learning all those things, how to deal with people in some of like a, more mass market kind of place, you know?
There's so many little details or little memories we could talk about, like the times at Bealey Library, eating lunch at Smith, fight out 8 a.m.s on Saturdays, fight
Ooh.
outs at fucking 9 p.m. in the Brotherhood room at fucking on a Friday. There's so many moments that we could cover that I feel one day we could just sit down and just talk about them. A lot of those memories, I rather just, just keep in the past just because it's just moments that there's nothing, nothing positive came out of those besides getting drunk, fool. We seen
Yeah.
some dope shit. But what was
Yeah.
the plan after college, fool?
I think the plan was to, try and keep having fun.
That's right.
Obviously, right? Like as much as you can. But obviously to get a job that pays the bills and gets stability. I think that was obviously the goal. So you didn't know what that was going to be, but that was the main goal, right? It's like how do you get out, get yourself your own place, right? It took me like, 18 months or whatever to really get off my feet, but that was the goal, right? Just, start working. So I think I just dove right in when I graduated. It was just work, 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 and just try and move up, try and learn as much as possible, and then try and start working on your own project, right? Because at the end of the day, I knew that I wasn't going to try and work for someone else forever, right? It was we already been working on Rowdy Regime, already been working on Elite, same amount of time, right at that point for probably 4 years. Maybe not. I guess it was 2 or 3 years at that point. I guess it was still 2017. But I mean, that was the goal, right? So it was just work, trying to figure out how to balance all that.
How much we not including elite, but how much has your life changed since 2017?
Since 2017. I mean, I think that's a lot, right? Like that's when I started working at Rocket, doing some mortgages and just learning the adult world. So in that regard, like I've spent time exploring and figuring out what that means, and so I'd say kind of just in the next phase now. So totally different. Just instead of with fresh eyes, I feel like I got a little more wisdom now.
And now we talked about your days before college. We talk about how much, you know, time we spend speaking and talking about music and the Rowdy regime and all these music related events and your academics. But in 2016, you decided to, was it 2016 when you started Elite?
Yeah, so it was started called it Revive in 2014, I think is when we launched it. And it was like 2015, I think is when we switched the name. So I think summer of 15. I've been doing like, different projects in Detroit in terms of just helping friends design stuff for their apparel company. And that was in high school and they basically took the logo that I made and the design and just cut me out of it. And so I wasn't even really into graphic design or like thinking I could do that, making a t-shirt company or whatever. But then once they took my idea and started selling it, I was like, oh, well, I guess then I have a decent idea. So I started messing around with that probably about 2012 with like, all right, how do you build a Detroit brand, starting with apparel and then incorporate other cultural stuff into it, right? So uh, that original brand that those guys took was revived, and they basically collapsed, right? The real Detroit apparel, they didn't continue going on. So at that point I was like, well, they're not using the name anymore, so I'm about to just use it. And then I jumped in with that. And I just after doing experimenting with that for a year and just testing out different words that had 313 for Detroit area code embedded in them, stumbled across the word elite and thinking about like, people wanting to define themselves as elite in their field or elite whatever they do. And that was the goal of what we were doing with Revive, was try to, regardless of outside investment dollars or government help or whatever, how do you get the city of Detroit to pick itself up by its bootstraps, right? And just focus on what you can control. And so that was with Elite, it was that self-empowerment image, right? Instead of being Revive, like, looking back at it now, right, as a white guy from the suburbs, you're like, okay, that's like white savior type of mentality coming in with this Revive brand. So I think evolving it over time into more of like a self-actualizing, focusing on the fundamentals of, fulfilling lives. That was just the evolution there in that first year. But yeah, 2015, really August was the takeoff. And then we did like the full apparel launch. I think Smith, we got the first shirts, right? Kind of around the same time you brought the Rowdy regime shirts, we got the elite shirts, right? So it was really, born at the same time. And through talking to you, shaped a lot of the way we went. I think you had a lot to do with the name change from Revive to Elite. Probably influenced a lot of my thinking.
Yeah, it was just the sociology and just coming from where I come from. There's a lot of people that show up, even like not even just like white folks, but just people that show up with that savior complex who like, oh, we're gonna save the hood, we're gonna save the fucking city. So I've already dealt and seen people like that. And it wasn't my intention to be like, hey, don't fucking think like that. It was just more of I think I was just talking out loud and I guess that influenced you in a way.
Yeah, I
You
think it
feel
clicked because I don't think it was even like a quick flip. Like I don't think Elite and immediately was like it was how do you keep both? Like Revive does some of the stuff, Elite does other, and over time it just became like, oh, naturally this makes way more sense for what we're trying to do. Like the goal hasn't changed. We're still trying to get people to just be the best versions of themselves and to like not just focus purely on themselves, but help their community as well, right? So personal and community growth, that's been the message since day one. But then how do you encourage people to like adopt that for themselves? That's obviously changed a little bit.
Yeah, I think you were at first it was the discussion about the word elite and the metaphor and even just the what the word means and the brand and I guess it was still kind of revive and you were still trying to figure out a name. But I think the conversation started when you started talking about the community. It was like, oh,
Hmm.
I want to use the community aspect of it. I want to be involved in the community. And I kind of remember the conversation went, well, how are you going to deal with people from the community asking you is like, where you from? How much money you got? What's your background? And all these like sociological categorical questions that they're gonna ask you because I've been involved on the other side where
Yeah.
people have tried to pull up to, youth centers or the community and people that I grew up admiring would ask those questions, not, to be confrontational or start a debate, but to maybe switch the mentality. And I guess that's when you started thinking, it was like, well, maybe I should start, you know, not looking at it in a way to save people, but more of to change the mindset. And I guess
Yeah.
that's what switched the word from fucking revive to elite because elite it is a mindset. It is a way of
Yeah.
thinking.
No, there's a brand in Detroit called Detroit Never Left. And I think that sums it up, right? Like, I don't think I really, from a perspective of someone who never left the city, like, Detroit's not back, right? People keep saying Detroit's back, but for those people that never left, right? It was always there. And I think that's what I was missing, right? It was, for me, it was Revive, right? It was for my family. It was like, okay, you know, that was the mentality. But that just wasn't the fact for the people living there, right? So you got to put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah. But then you take it off, you take off with it, and then we go our own ways. Obviously, I come back to LA. Take us through the evolution of Elite because it's changed a lot, right? It's changed
Yeah.
a lot in the past, what, 7 years, 6, 7 years, 7, 8 years?
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
about to start year 10, so that's pretty exciting. And then, I mean, really, like when I was in Ohio, it was hard to do a lot of the community events, right? Like you're basically building a brand through content and apparel, and trying to talk about your message. But It's easier to do it on the ground and in person. So when I came back to Detroit in 2017 after graduation, it was just always about networking with other people in the same kind of mindset, right? So it was a lot of through social media, finding like-minded people, right? Finding a lot of photographers and artists and community gardens. I'd already had people that I went to elementary school that had started nonprofits, so I was teaming up with them and working on their community gardens and stuff. And then from the working with Deji, who's one of our good friends. He had a youth sports camp. And so back then we had come up with the idea for the Detroit Youth Classic golf tournament. So even though that didn't come into fruition until like middle of COVID, right? Like 2021, the groundwork for that was laid back in like 2016. So we were just trying to figure out, okay, what are the things that we can do to benefit the city that are, grassroots, that don't require a big budget, bootstrap, right? And then it can just get people's mindset changed, can connect people, and then all behind that idea of the brand for more fulfilling lives, right? So everybody should want to live a better life for themselves and their community. And a lot of it just is that recognition that you can do more together than alone.
Some of the communities that you've worked in, what do they look like? Because I've never been over there for, you know.
Sure. I mean, yeah, we worked in a couple different parts of the city, right? Brightmoor over on the west side. One of our first projects was collaborating with some friends, helping them with a rebrand of their nonprofit to get some fundraising for Veterans Village. So they were bringing some old housing that was, vacant, turning it in for homes for veterans, giving them the support they need from programming through food and diet too. So a lot of it was building some shipping container like incubators for food so that you could grow year round, have them learn about different kinds of fruits and vegetables and all that. And so, uh, just more community focused on that. So that's West Side, East Side. Spent some time in Yorkshire Woods, and then over in McClellan, at a couple different gardens, working with a couple different community partners. One was a block club, and so that was a different vibe, right? You're getting to work with all the neighbors and build relationships versus other ones where it's like a nonprofit that's taken over lots in a neighborhood. So just a little bit different, right? You're meeting some of the neighbors and stakeholders there versus like working directly with the block clubs. So we were able to build some really cool relationships with the folks in that neighborhood in Yorkshire Woods, like far east side of Detroit. And that's been really fun, right? Just getting to know people and just to see where they're coming from and how they're, trying to make their neighborhood a better place.
What's the current goal for Elite?
The current goal for Elite is the same as always, and it's maybe a little bit better said at this point, but it's one thing that our friend Mr. Nick Tobias told us in college. So there's two main objectives for Elite. Obviously, the vision is more fulfilling lives, right? So that's, all of us want to live more fulfilling lives, but then we seek the same for others to share that, right? And how do we do that? There's a couple different things, right? You focus on fitness and finance, right? So health and wealth. And then from there, if you take care of your fundamentals, you get the freedom to do what you want to do. And so you can apply that to you find whatever fulfillment you want, whether that's, athletics, academics, arts, whatever you want to do. But at the end of the day, it comes back to the objectives of exploring, right? So being curious and exploring the world and learning something about it and then sharing those talents and those discoveries with people around you. So whatever form that takes is awesome. And so our goal with Elite is how do you foster that community so that people can interact and join themselves or join other people on that journey, right? So if it's golf, right, we've got a big golf group, right? So that's what we've been focusing on a little bit more since COVID. A lot of the community murals and projects and stuff we were working on, photography events, fundraising, and all that kind of stuff stopped during COVID, during lockdowns. So we were trying to figure out, well, what can we still do that keeps people together and that continues the community growth and stuff. So golf was one thing we picked up, and obviously like the youth involvement and the youth classic and some of the training programs alongside that's been big. Um, but then it's expanding it back, right? So getting back in touch with all the folks from the creative side, photography and all that. And then same with music, right? So fostering those little communities of folks and giving them a platform to meet other folks that are interested in similar things. And it all comes back to, again, at the day, like how does everyone live more fulfilling lives through fitness, finance, and then just being free to explore?
Toughest lesson that you've learned trying to create your own business. Right, that's what it is, a business.
Yeah, toughest lesson has been how to keep it simple, right? How to keep it small. there's a tendency to get carried away and try to do too much. And so it's like the biggest lesson is really that you do need to simplify it and you do need to streamline it. And it's really easy to get carried away. So I wouldn't say I've mastered it yet, but it's definitely the biggest, like, in your face lesson of like, just don't try to do too much.
And off camera, I feel like we've had multiple talks the past 4 or 5 years
Yeah.
about that. I feel we kind of reconnected during the pandemic on how to expand because I was getting into marketing and branding, and you were expanding onto how to simplify the vision.
Mm.
Because I feel like that's always been our problem. That's what we used to bond over. We used to have so many fucking ideas, and our ideas
I
were so
know.
big, and
I know.
sometimes we would have to reel it in, and it
Yeah.
would suck because we have all these ideas, but simplifying and having to build a foundation is just as important as having a big imagination. So I feel I could see the direction in it just because I've seen it from almost an internal perspective of the business itself. Speak about the elite retreat.
Oh yeah, the elite retreat. So we're coming up on our eighth elite retreat, which I'm excited about. And it's an awesome weekend. Well, that's really a week, I guess. Not quite, but maybe 5 nights, I think we do. And we take the crew, the elite core, and friends of the core out to an island in Michigan, up in Lake Michigan. Ferry ride's about an hour and a half. You take all you're gonna need for the next 5 days in a backpack, so everything's on your back. Hiking this current island that we're at's not too bad to get to the campsite, maybe a mile. So nothing crazy. And then, got all of our food out there for the next couple of days. Uh, Mix of hammocks and tents, hanging out there and do some hiking. It's, on the beach pretty much where we're camping. So you just go to hang out, uh, explore a couple shipwrecks, hang out in the woods, just chill with people, play some music at the sand dunes. Really good time. So, year 8 coming up, really excited about it. Hopefully, have some special guests here to perform because I'm looking to incorporate some of the music a little bit more, make our own little fire fest out there.
Fire Fest.
Fire fest.
Oh, that shit is humor.
We'll get cheese sandwiches and everything.
What about the team? Speak on the elite team. How has that changed over the years?
Yeah, I mean, we got, people come and go. Obviously, everyone's got different schedules, but the coolest thing to me has been, people coming back, right? So like they're gone for a little while because their schedule gets busy, but just coming back just because they see the value in it and they see what we're doing. And so that's been cool, because you expect it, right? Everyone's got stuff that changes. You're never going to get people to stay with the group the whole time, but just to see the drawback at the end and to see that going into year 10, we still got people that are excited about the future.
If you're in it for the money, you're gonna stop being involved when there's no money. When you're in it for the community in the long haul, you'll come back or you'll never leave.
Yeah.
And you'll be involved somehow. So
Yeah.
props to them. Props to them for coming back at some point. I don't know them. You've spoken about them. I actually met one of them. You visited LA one time and you
Yeah.
came out here to do a photography project and we met up at the Staples Center and it was fun. Well, now it's called fucking Crypto Arena. My bad and
I
shit,
know,
but
right?
it
Right.
was a it
And
was a
those
cool.
buildings are abandoned over there, right? The skyscrapers they just finished when we were there.
Oh, bro, they're all fucking graphed up and shit. Like, this shit
That's
is crazy,
crazy. That's
you
crazy.
know?
They were brand new when we went there.
And then a couple years later, you came back with even a bigger group. I got to meet a lot of the other folks that were probably involved with
Yeah, that's
the
what the
golf
second time we
aspect.
visited was the Coastal Cup. Yeah, where we do like a yearly golf trip, kind of like the retreat, but just focused on golf.
And we went to go drink at the Arts District, when I was still drinking. That was fun. So I got to, meet a couple of people, a group, a good diverse group of people and everything. I remember one time it's that's just the way I am. But there was a time, fucking 2018, where you told me a lot of the people in Elite were Mexican,
Yeah.
and I was on some drunk shit. I was like, hey, let me talk to them, dog. Let me talk to them. Let me see what their mind's about. You feel me? And
Oh,
what
that's
what
awesome.
happened to those fools and shit?
I was about to bring that up. You'd be proud of me because I just got to go to Mexico City not too long ago. It's probably like what, May, for a wedding between two of the people in Elite. So that was getting to, meet people through this and see them, form a relationship and now get married. That's been awesome. And that was an awesome trip to go down there and see Mexico City.
So they got married because of Elite. That's what you're trying to say?
Yeah, they
Don't
get
take
met.
credit.
They
Don't
met
take.
through they
All
met
right,
through Elite though.
all right.
So
That's cool as shit.
we used to throw those parties, those kickbacks in the warehouses in Corktown. And so I think that might have been the first time they met.
You want to know how I knew there were some fools that were about that life when they would go to the kickbacks? You posted a video a long ass time ago, and you're playing. Somebody was DJing, and they were playing Chris Rivers, which is Big Pun's son, in the
Okay.
background. And you have to be a hip hop head to
Yeah.
know who Chris Rivers is, right? Big
Yeah.
Pun's son. Like nobody, he's not famous. I mean, underground famous, yeah. He's also Big Pun's son, but he's not, at the Big Pun level of fame. He's
Yeah.
not carrying the legacy in the way that you kind of expect the children of these legends to try and carry the name and be like, oh, I'm this and that. And he does it on his own in his own way, but you have to know who he is to really pick it up. I knew right away that it was him.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, is that Chris Rivers fucking, is that Big Pun's son? He's like, yeah, how you know? I was like, cause I mean, that's my shit. I'm an underground hip hop head.
That's
And when you share
hilarious.
that video, it's like, you don't play that kind of music at a kickback unless you know the people that are there like that kind of shit. It's like the people that play MF Doom at a party and just ruin the vibe. You know, Dama?
Mashed
You
potatoes.
feel me? Like you go to a
Yeah.
fucking kickback and it's just nothing but straight like mainstream hip hop heads. And then you throw on some MF Doom, everybody's gonna be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, they won't be ready for it at all.
Yeah, so that
But yeah,
that's
we got
cool.
some really good music at that stuff. That was awesome. We get to work with some people that, their cousins were related to the label, and that label was really sweet, Young Heavy Souls. Because I don't know if you remember the name Blockhead, but that was some of the breakbeat stuff that I was listening to, like studied to in college. All of a sudden, I show up to this dude's thing, to their label headquarters, and he's got the special edition like color vinyl of the Blockhead album. And I was like, no way. So that was sweet. That was awesome to work with those guys.
Elite, big vision. Final thing you want to say about Elite?
Elite worldwide, right? I think it's not just about Detroit, right? It's about everywhere and everybody and just living that fulfilling life with the basics. So we're going to simplify it and focus on those things, right? Because as I get older, it's important that I focus on my own fitness, my own finance. And then for myself, right, the categories that I focus on are golf, the vision, right? So this entrepreneurship stuff we've been doing for a minute, and then music. So I'm excited with the elite to get the elite music going. They just released the dot music domain names, so you can get dot music. So I just bought elite dot music, so we'll get that set up soon. And we've been posting like playlists and stuff, but as we're working on some of this more, how we have this network for golf, and I got all these connections here in Detroit with doing the music stuff too. So I just want to get back in the community. I feel like post COVID, I just haven't been meeting people and going to as many like local shows. And so I'm just trying to get back in that community again. So I'm excited for that elite music, kind of similar how we're doing with the golf, is just like building the connections, getting the Discord going with so like, all the people that are into the scene locally are just sharing information.
Hopefully, hopefully it's in the cards and I make my way to Detroit to Michigan one day, and I get to meet some of the other members of Elite, and then have them join me in a
We got to
fucking
get you out here for elite retreat.
the podcast, just so they could tell their story, and I want to hear their perspective just because I feel like I've been there from the very beginning. Not an official member of Elite, but I always feel that a lot of the creative ideas that I've had that I haven't implemented for myself have kind of manifested in Elite, and I want to be able to meet the team and have, like I said, I want to invite them to so they could tell their story just the way that you're telling your story today, and it's a part of the Elite fucking lore, and everybody's not everybody, but just have multiple perspectives on the rise of the business and see how it has that's changed for not just you because you only provide one perspective, but to
Yeah,
hear the perspective from multiple people of the company, that would be dope. And then just have updates, just join me in different podcast episodes, even if it's for like half the episode, where you could join me and you could give updates on the brand itself. That would be dope.
for sure. Yeah, we got some big events coming up this year, so I'm sure we'll want to share some of that, and then we'll obviously get you on the podcast and vice versa. We got a couple of good people that I think you could talk to and chop it up with. So let's keep it flowing.
Last topic, just to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Full circle moment.
All right.
We started off the whole podcast episode talking about Dastamon and the
Hmm.
music, and we kind of covered a little bit of the history of your music journey and how we connected and how it's also a big part of my music journey. But where are you at in terms of music right now?
Yeah. I think the hardest thing for me was always finishing tracks, right? I get the ideas down there and just get to the next one. So I'm forcing myself to finally get stuff out. I got one track finally on Spotify last year, and I'm pushing to get some more tracks this year. So I actually just got pretty close on one today. I'm getting like, it's one of those things like you think, all right, I just need one more day. And then you do that one day and you're like, all right, I need one more day. But it's fun to get back in the studio. I'll tell you what, because it's just like, creative. It's a different kind of flow than being in finance, right? And it's not like I'm worried about how does this marketing thing affect the way someone thinks about it. It's just like, how do I like this moment, right? And does it sound good to me? And I think that's freeing. I haven't had that in a little while. And so it's been really refreshing to get back in the studio and really just taking the stuff from Dastamon from 10 years ago when we started messing around with Moombahton and like messing around with these sounds. So like I'm going on back on some of the files and it's the same thing you're talking about from earlier. We were performing at Solar Saloon. Like this is the tracks I'm messing with. And it's like they're 10 years old, but I still like them. And so just getting them across the finish line, mixing in some different samples, trying to mix in some like old samples and kind of hide them in the beginning and just get them to mix. So I'm excited. We got something come up here probably next couple of weeks. Might get something on Spotify. We're gonna see.
Yeah, we'll see what's up. We'll stay in touch in terms of the music. Before I hit you with the final question, though, I went back to Ohio in September of 2023, and when I stepped foot in Slocum for the first time since the last time, it brought back a lot of memories, dog.
Yeah,
It was tough to hear that they removed the tables,
I know. It doesn't look the same.
and walking down memory lane, it was beautiful. It was dope, it was a cool time. It was a special time, and I found closure, years later, and that place will always be special to me and Rowdy regime. As much as I would like to say that Rowdy regime was something that started in South Central LA, it'll never be that, dog. It started in Slocum Hall, 2015, you and myself.
Yeah.
And that's part of the history that I think people don't really get in terms of when I talk to them about Rowdy regime, because I took it and I ran with it and I created, a little movement out here in LA with it. And we have a lot of rappers and we got that going on. But at the end of the day, it all traces back to fucking Delaware, Ohio and Slocum Hall and those fucking faded ass nights and shit for no fucking reason. We never
Up
did
late
any
dreaming.
work.
No. We were working on ourselves, on our dreams.
Yeah,
That's work.
that was dope. But final question, big dog, to wrap up the whole podcast interview
All
and your
right.
story.
All right.
We talked about the past a lot and a little bit on the present, but let's focus on the future. If you could talk to the future Billy, the future Dastamon, what would you
Okay.
ask him?
How far are we talking?
That's up to you.
Oh, future Billy. Hmm, what would I ask him? It's a tough one. It's a good question though. I think I would just ask him, what seemed like a waste of time. I think we only have so much time, and I think that's a lot of what I've been focused on lately is like goes back to the simplifying, right? I think that was for me in the last decade, it was about exploration. And I'm not saying it's not anymore, but now after exploring, you start to learn what you want to spend your time on and just make that decision. Um, so I would just ask for more wisdom on, what's the right stuff to spend my time on.
Boom. Perfect. Well, thank you, big dog. Thank you for joining me in
Yeah, thanks for having me. This has been
this
awesome.
podcast interview so you could tell your story. The story of Dastamon is going to be the title of the podcast episode.
Hey,
For those that are watching, family, friends, or followers of my boy Dastamon, my boy Billy, you gotta know this shit. I just finally uploaded it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and what is it, Amazon Podcasts. It's an iHeartRadio. All these fucking platforms. It's just audio on YouTube is video, so we got that going. Just a quick update on the podcast itself. Final words. before we wrap it up?
Stay rowdy.
That's right.
That's all
That's
I gotta
right.
say. Yeah.
So we'll keep in touch, fool, and we'll keep in touch offline. Send me that email, porfa, please.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll send you the links that I posted on my website about the flyers. No pictures, just the flyer, and we'll exchange media files from the past just to reminisce off camera for a bit. But just keep it pushing, and I'll keep you updated on that elite retreat.
Yeah, start working on your set.
Let's get it. I already have a set for. We got music coming on the way and shit.
Hey, let's go.
But other than that, if you're watching this on YouTube or you're listening to this podcast on all these other platforms, it's your boy Othree signing off. Don't forget to love yourself today, all right? Adios.
Adios.
Stepping out the door with some fresh 90s, the old whites, the drips nice. Yeah, I'm icy, but I don't wear eyes. Still a fool that looks fly. Got my button down on, let's get lost in the